Hello everyone, it is Caitlin, and today we are starting a new series of long-term project vlogs, and we're going to start today with a corded petticoat. Alright, so I am very excited for this new series. We are going to embark on long-term projects, namely projects that not necessarily are going to take a long time, although most likely a lot of them will, but ones that are so super detailed that I know I won't be able to get all the detail that I think y'all would like in a 20 to 30 minute episode. So we're going to cut it into chunks and just have those chunks at a separate time and just have one project, one big project we're focusing on for a while until it gets done, and then we'll start a new one and do a whole new long-term project. So I think I decided on do these on the last Wednesday of every month. So the last Wednesday of every month there'll be a separate video. So we're still going to do the weekly videos where you kind of get a whole project in one video. But on the last Wednesday of every month we are going to do a long-term project, just so you can see a little bit more detail in what I do, and hopefully that will be more interesting as well. So the project we're going to start on today is a corded petticoat, which I'm going to discuss a little bit more in a moment. I think that's probably going to take us about 8 months, or at least 8 videos, because I kind of have it into steps. I'm going to do like dog sneeze. I'm going to do a step a month. I have one at my foot. I have one at my foot. I'm like petting her with my foot to keep her quiet while I'm filming, so sorry. The other one's at the couch playing with a toy. So if you hear random chewing noises, he's tearing up something. But yeah, we'll be doing the corded petticoat for probably about 8 months, because I kind of set out 8 different steps. I'm hoping it won't take me 8 months to complete, but it's going to take me 8 months of videos. After that, we're going to start the elytra dress, I think, because that has been, it's been in my to-do list. I mean, I started the project 8 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that, and I just never finished it. And I've been really wanting to do it on video since I started the channel. It's like one of the big things. I was like, I want to show people this. I just want to finish it is what I want. And so I was hoping to do that, but I knew I wasn't able to get the detail in a single video. And so I kind of been mulling around different ways to do it. And then when I decided on some other long-term projects that are just going to take me a while, I said, you know, let's make this a whole separate series. We'll just start a brand new series. I was trying to only start one new series a year. Last year we started the how-to videos. This year we're going to start the dolls. But I really just want to do this. So we're going to start 2 series this year. So we're going to start this one today. So I think the way I have this planned is the episodes are going to be varying lengths. Some of them may be 5-10 minutes long. Some of them may be like 20-30 minutes long. It's going to be by step, really. It's not going to be how much I can fit into a content a 20-minute episode. It's going to be a step. So some of them might be shorter and others might be longer. Today we're going to start with just like supplies and the research behind stuff, and then next time we'll do another step, and there's the cat. And the next ones we'll do another step, and so on and so on. So because these are going to be more involved videos, they're not necessarily how-to videos, although there'll be more detail in them, so you probably could use them as a how-to video. It's going to be step-by-step, so if you wanted to do a petticoat or a corded petticoat yourself, you'd probably be able to do something like that, because I'd give you more detail in these episodic vlog type videos as opposed to the like normal stuff that we do on the channel. And again, they're not necessarily how-to videos, but if you want to use them that way, you're probably going to get more information out of them. And they're not necessarily meant to be like a sew-along, because I don't think a lot of people would want to weave their own corded petticoat. But if you wanted to sew along with me, I mean, you could take the video for the month, do that whole step for a whole month, and then when I put out a new video, you can use the next step and follow kind of along. I'd love that, actually. I don't think anyone would want to, but if you wanted to, I'd be very happy to see that happen. So yeah, we're gonna start with petticoat, elytra dress. I have it all planned out. I think I have it planned out 7 or 8 projects, and some of them are gonna take like a year, like 12 episodes. So we're going to be working on these for a while. Hopefully this will be like a continuous thing, like there'll be a long-term project going on all the time. My whole thought process behind starting this type of series was, so many of you in the comments and that sort of thing, y'all love the how-to videos, which is fantastic. I'm so glad those are helping people. I love that people are watching my content and enjoying it and learning something. And y'all have just, usually my how-to videos are, I always thought they'd be least watched, because they're not necessarily like, oh, here's a pretty dress, which I would think would garner more views. And I usually get more comments for that type of video, and y'all always say, you know, the research is super helpful, you love looking at the extant garments, that's really helpful, and the step-by-step stuff helps. So hopefully this will be a little bit more of that, so you'll get, oh, and there goes the dog. So you'll get like 2 more in-depth videos a month. You'll get the how-to videos at the beginning of the month, and then you'll get this as well, which is more of a project-based. I need you to lay down if you're going to be here. Lay down if you're going to be here. Lay down if you're going to be here. Not just sit. Okay, in my laptop. Perfect. Perfect. You know you're not a lap dog, right? Okay. These videos are going to be a little bit more laid back than my normal ones do, I think, because a lot of it may be me on the floor and that sort of thing. And me on the floor to the dogs means playtime, because I usually get on the floor to play with them. So that's why they're all over me today. That, and I just got home from work, so they haven't seen me all day. But where were we? How-to videos. So this is going to be basically the same type of thing. You're going to get the research, you're going to be looking at a lot of extant garments, and the how-to portion of it, which is going to be step-by-step. So hopefully that'll be something y'all like. Just like the how-to videos, it's just not going to be an episodic, like, here's how to do this one thing, and next month we're going to do something totally different. We're going to stick on, here's this step for this project, and here's this step for this project. So it's going to take us a while to get through it, but hopefully that'll be something y'all be interested in. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about corded petticoats and what we got here. So corded petticoats are an attempt to get as full of a skirt as possible with the least amount of petticoat layers. They start showing up really in the 1820s, late 1820s, and they are in until about 1860s when you really see them die completely. After the crinoline, the cage crinoline comes in the mid-1850s, you see a very sharp decline in the use and the dimensions and the extents of corded petticoats because the steel cage is just so much lighter and cooler, and it's very cheap. So why not use it? So from about 1820s to 1860, corded petticoats are awesome. They are wonderful. They take up a little bit of that space. They make things kind of stand out a little bit more with less of a petticoat layers, which fewer layers are always good. But there are a couple different ways that extents show up to make them. The first way is to basically sandwich cords in between layers of fabric. So this can be done with, you have the petticoat and you have a facing and you're sewing cords between them. You could, I've seen at least one example of, they were tucks and the cords were put into the tucks. I've seen at least one example like that. And that's a perfectly viable way of making a corded petticoat. That is basically the way that 95% of the living historians and costumers make their corded petticoats today. That's not what 90 to 95% of the Victorians did. What they would normally do, is go hop over to their local general store and go pick out some fabric, some corded petticoat fabric, because they could buy it. And it would just be regular fabric. From my research, it seems like most of them are linen, and the cords were already woven in. So you just take that and you cut them into panels and you sew them up the sides and make them like a normal petticoat. So it's much easier than stitching rows and rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of cording into a petticoat. So much easier. Unfortunately, no one makes corded petticoat fabric anymore. So if you wanted a corded petticoat, you've got 2 options today. You can either sew rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of cords into fabric, or you can weave your own fabric, which is what we're going to be doing. So the corded petticoat I have been using is a machine stitched one that has it's just regular petticoat and a facing, and I just sandwiched cords between them. So I did like a spiral type. So you start at the bottom, you sew it all the way around, and you just kind of go up and up, and it's very continuous. So you basically get a piece that's about that tall, that's just cording, rows and rows and rows of cording, and that's how I chose to do mine. I made it for the 1850s, so machine stitching was totally appropriate for that choice, and when I started doing 1830s, I didn't relish the idea of doing all that by hand, and so I've just been using my 1850s corded petticoat, and I shouldn't be. And I need to get myself together and pull my life together, as I tell my first graders, pull your life together, and, you know, make a new one that's actually hand stitched. I still do not want to do all those cording rows by hand. And you do see extents with fewer cording, or like in sections, but they don't stick out as much and they don't work as well. So I'd rather do a whole thing and make it like really work and stand out. But I didn't want to do all that by hand. So here we are with the weaving. I decided I would rather weave the whole thing as opposed to sewing all those channels. I probably just made more work for myself, but it sounds like more fun. And also it'll be worth it for just the experience, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. So let's go over supplies. This is really a supplies video for this particular vlog, so we might as well get to supplies. So I have behind me my loom. This is, bless you, this is an Ashford rigid heddle loom. It's the 32-inch wide loom. And I have a dog who's not going to let me pet her. He's not going to let me get up. I need you to move. Lay down. There you go. So this is my loom. It's a table loom, so it's not a really big one, and it's 32 inches wide, so it is fairly big still. And that's what we're going to use. I think the weaving width is 32. I think it's actually slightly bigger than 32 inches. I think the weaving width is 32, which we're probably going to make it as big as it'll go. So I have here the heddle. We're going to use the 15 DPI, which is dents per inch, so we need something that's very fine. So this one is what we're going to be using. But yeah, so basically a simple loom. It's not a Perry's one. It's just a loom. It's going to work. It's going to function. So the thread we're going to use is the Maurice Brassard or Brassard Blanchy, which is the white, in 16/2. Basically, it's cotolin, so that's cotton and linen. It's a 60% cotton, 40% linen base yarn, which I think the originals were mostly just pure linen. Linen was not in my budget for as much as I need, so I went with the cotolin, and I thought that would be best to go with that. Anyway, also it was hard to find linen in like white. You could find it in natural linen very easily, but not necessarily in white in the size that I need, because I could find it larger. But I need something very fine to make like actual fabric with. So this is going to be the closest thing I could find that was also in my budget. So that's what we're going to be using today. I have, I think, 12 of these little half-pound little spools right now. I don't know if that's going to be enough or not. I've never made a big petticoat before. I have woven small projects before. Nothing this big, so I have no idea what I'm doing with this. I have no idea how much I need, or I don't know. We're going to figure it out as we go. I will, however, know by the time we get our first panel done, because we're doing this in 3 panels. We're going to do, as wide as the loom will go, so either 30 or 32 inches, somewhere in there, and we're going to do 3 panels. So it'll be roughly about 90 inches wide of a petticoat when it's done. But by the time we get done with the first panel, I will know how much we're going to use, because I can tell how much I've already used. So this is what we're going to be using for the main thread, and it's very fine. And pull some of it off. But it's just slightly thicker than sewing thread. Slightly. And 16/2 is just the size. So 16 is the size of the single bits of yarn that are made up this yarn, and then the 2 is just how many singles there are. So there's 2 singles woven together, or there are 2 singles twisted together to make this yarn, and the size of the singles is 16. So I have 10 more somewhere, but here's 2 of them. And this is what we're going to be using for the actual weaving portion. So this is what we're going to be using. They do come in half-pound spools, if I didn't say that before. And yeah, again, about 12 of them. So we're going to see how many pounds I need for this petticoat. I mean, it sounds excessive, because when I was counting yardage, it seemed like I was going to need like 18 of these. And I'm sitting here going, that's 9 pounds. Is my petticoat really going to be 9 pounds? That doesn't make any sense. So I think I'm just off on my calculations, and I don't know what I'm doing yet. So I bought 10, and hopefully that's way too much, and I have it for other projects, which I'm totally fine with. But if not, I know where to get more. And for the cording part, this came in a little bit wider than I think I wanted it. This is a, oh, they stapled it. Oh, that'll be fun. I'm just going to show y'all. I ordered it in 6mm, And really, I think I should have gone with the 4mm. And that's that. So I did like this one because it's not super twisted and it's not, it's like lots of little pieces together. So I have a close-up of an original from the 1840s, and it looked more like this as opposed to two definite strands twisted together. And I did measure that petticoat off. I just had pictures, so I was using what the owner said the width of the hem was, and guesstimating how many threads per 3/8 of an inch there was, which tells me when I did the math how many threads per inch there were, which is kind of how I arrived at the 30 for the DPI. Yeah, this has been fun. The research part has been fun for this. And that told me how wide a thread I needed for this. And I kind of used the 3/8 of an inch hem, and I said, okay, that's slightly bigger than the cording that was used. And so I arrived at 6mm, which is slightly more than 1/4 of an inch. And so that's what I came up with for the actual cording. I think if I were to do it again, I would probably pick a 4mm. You see a lot more of small cords than you do see of big cords. And this is about as big as I have seen on originals. I mean, it matches what I came up with that one original petticoat, but most of what I have seen has been itty bitty little cords, like sugar and cream yarn, and slightly bigger. So I think 2 to 4mm is probably going to be better in the long run, but I already have this and I don't feel like sending it back, so we're going to use it because it does technically match the measurements of that one single original petticoat, so we're going to go with it. And I bought a, actually I think this is actually for macrame. It was sold for that, and I was like, oh, it's 100% cotton, it's the right color, and it looks like the original. We're going to go with it. And so that was pretty easy to find. This stuff was a little bit, you could go to specialty shops and that sort of thing for this. This was really easy to find. I just don't feel like sending it back. So we're going to go ahead and use this, and it does match that one original, which I don't think, as far as pattern goes, I'm going to copy that one original. I thought I was originally, and then I kind of started looking at more of them and going, but I can make it pretty with like sections and then space and then more cording and space, and there's so many different ways to do it. You see the whole spectrum on originals, and I haven't come across one I absolutely love yet. So I don't know exactly what design I'm going to do with it, and I'll make that decision probably not even for the next video. The next video we're just going to warp this loom, but maybe in the next one when we start talking about, we actually start weaving in the next video, so 2 months from now, we're going to actually start weaving, and that's when I have to make a decision on what I'm going to actually be doing with this design. So if I don't tell y'all next month, if I haven't made a decision next month, I got 2 months. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all the supplies, and we're going to use normal things like sewing thread and needles, because we are going to hand stitch this stuff after we put it on the loom. We are going to sew this up on the channel and pleat it, or not pleat it, gather it, put it to a waistband. All that's going to be done on channel. So we got a long road ahead of us. I think, again, I said about 8 months. It's going to be eight videos, and we need to start something else. This is not going to be the only loom project we're going to be doing, because I already have at least 2 that I have planned. I think the one after, I think we're going to do another loom project right after we do the beetling, the elytra dress. So, yeah, fun times ahead. I'm really excited about it. So, 8-month-long project is going to be fun. I am very much looking forward to it, because it is something I need in my wardrobe. And I've been putting off because I really don't like sewing all those tiny little cords over and over and over again. So weaving them sounds like way more fun. Probably just as time consuming, but way more fun. So thank you so much for joining me today on my little ramble video. I hope you have a fantastic week, and as always, I will see you back here on Monday.